In this week's episode, we sat down with Becky Jansen. She's an owner and esthetician of Blissful Beauty by Becky. She's also an Air Force veteran, which I absolutely loved. And she has a really, really incredible story. And I just enjoyed the conversation. I really, really enjoyed it.
Yeah, so did I. I think the biggest thing about her story is that she admittedly didn't always know exactly what she wanted to do, but she kept going, and I think had, some industry changes and things like that. But I think the overall theme was just figuring out what you want to do and finding it and doing it. And so she was just very honest about that, which I think a lot of listeners could use. So
yeah, and she was incredibly open and honest about the roller coaster of being a business owner. It was very, very insightful. We all go through it. We talked about it. So I really, really enjoyed this episode and this conversation. And I know all of you that listening are going to enjoy it as well. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Tell Us Your Story.
welcome to Tell Us Your Story. Join us as we step into the arena with business owners, leaders, and influencers. Hear their stories as they navigate challenges, opportunities, and victories on their journey to success. As Theodore Roosevelt once said, it is not the critic who counts, but the man or woman who is actually in the arena.
I grew up here locally, so Roseville, Citrus Heights, Sacramento area. I have two brothers. My older brother and I are just over a year apart, so we grew up really close. My parents are very hardworking, so we were typical 80s latchkey kids. My parents were at work, and we are forced to be very independent at a young age.
Those were the good years. I grew up the same. Natasha.
I wasn't that far behind. You were going to say I wasn't that far behind. I was similar. So does that make you the middle or the youngest?
So I was the youngest for a very long time, and then our younger brother is 15 and a half years younger than me. So.
Oh, okay. Good gap there.
Yes.
Okay, so now you're a middle.
Now I'm in the middle.
Okay,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm actually my mom's youngest and my dad's middle. So. My parents divorced, and so my younger brother is my dad, my stepmom's.
Very nice.
Yeah.
And what'd your parents do for a living? So they worked
my dad worked for Tigert Construction, and my mom, she always did kind of office jobs. She got laid off I was in elementary school, and she took a job as a truck driver.
Oh, wow.
Kind of crazy. Okay. My grandpa and my uncles were all truck drivers, and the kind of tough economy, and she was having a hard time finding a job. So her and my stepdad went on the road, and they drove the 7 western states.
Wow.
So that we were with my dad and my stepmom a lot during that time. And
did she love it? Did she like it?
I think she liked it when she was doing it. She loves to travel, so I think it was, they got to see a lot of different places and do a lot of different things. I think it was hard not being away from my brother and I, and that side of it. But I do think we went with them over the summers. We'd go on the truck for a week, and that was fun when you're a kid.
Yeah, when you're a kid, that is fun. You get to see new things, and very nice.
Yeah, I could see it's easy to romanticize. It'd be so good. We're going to be on the road, and then all of a sudden, 2 weeks in, I'd be like, I want to be at home.
Yeah.
So what kind of student were you going through, elementary, middle school?
I feel like I've always been very task oriented, and school's always come easy for me. So I was a really good student. I was in honors classes. My brother's, I always say, one of the smartest people that I know, but he never applied himself. But we would compete. Back then we would be in the advanced classes. We would be, even though he was a year older, and it was always kind of a competition, and he's way smarter than I am.
And then did you do outside activities like sports or drama, anything like that? Or was it just all school?
Not really. It was mostly school. I did, nothing serious, soccer, softball. I was a cheerleader for 2 years in high school, but I started working when I was 15, so kind of no time for sports, and it wasn't really my thing anyway, so.
And so as you were going through high school, what was the dream? Who did you want to be? Did you have a dream?
I had no idea. I was really kind of, I don't want to say lost, but I really just had no idea what I wanted to do after high school.
Like most kids, most high schoolers, yeah.
I did really well in school, and my counselors were telling me, you have to go to college, and nobody in my family had ever been to college, so that was not even a conversation growing up. So it was not on my radar at all. And I remember at my graduation, I had decided I was going to go to the junior college, and we were walking through the graduation ceremony. Our counselors were all there, and I saw my counselor, and I said, I decided I'm going to go to junior college. And she was so happy. I thought she was going to start crying at the graduation.
Oh.
So I started off at the junior college, and since I didn't know what I wanted to do, I really struggled because, I was young. Friends were going out, and I wasn't taking classes that I loved, so it wasn't the best.
Yeah, it's hard when you don't have a passion. It's like I'm checking a box. Like
Yeah.
I'm here because I feel like I need to be here, not because I want to. And it sounds like if you started working at 15, you were probably working while you were in college as well.
Yeah.
And what were you doing?
My first job was actually at Denio's Farmers Market.
Oh, I know. Yes.
I love a good, when you ask me like, what was your first job? It's all, I just like love the answer. So at what were you doing?
I sold jewelry.
Oh, you had like your own.
I didn't have my own. I started off working for a couple that sold jewelry, and then they didn't pay very well at all. And so I was going to quit, but I had a friend that also sold jewelry. And since I didn't drive, she would pick me up every morning and give me a ride home every night. And she still is my lifelong friend. But her and her parents bought the jewelry business from the lady that she worked for. So I went to work for them. And it was fun. We would go to San Francisco and buy jewelry from the wholesalers and then work there on the weekends. And so I did that that was my first job when I turned 15, and I worked there until I was like 19.
Wow.
Oh, I'm always like, I love sales. We've come from a sales background, so I'm always fascinated when someone has a job like, and I'm thinking of Denio's, like, you're doing face-to-face and you're selling jewelry. So were you just talking to people and kind of learning it as you went, or was it something that you thought you were good at, or how, like?
No, it was just, I had a connection to get a job, and I wanted to work and make money. So I started out there, and I love jewelry, and it was fun, and we just kind of learned as we went, and learned the pricing, and she and her parents did all the business side of it, and I just worked doing sales.
And did they pay you on a commission? Did you get a little extra when you sold things?
Yeah, I had a salary and a commission.
Nice.
So it was good. It was a good first job.
And then as you went into the junior college at 19, did you transition out of that role?
Yes. And then I started working at, now it's Macy's Wine Stocks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, back in the day when it was Wine Stocks.
I don't remember that. I don't remember that was that. Macy's. I know Macy's.
Yeah.
And what were you doing there?
I started out in, that time I worked there, I worked in men's fragrance.
Okay.
So the cosmetics department.
So still in sales.
Still in sales.
That's an interesting sale. I'm just fascinated because you're selling to men, and you smell good, all of those things. Was that salary plus commission as well?
Yes.
And did you enjoy that?
I did, and I liked, because it was part of the cosmetics department, so I always chatted with the cosmetics girls and tried the new products, and so it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we were in college, so lots of friends worked there, and it was a fun environment. Yeah.
And so as you're going through the junior college and you're working there, are you starting to form, like, what do I want to do in life? Or are you still just like, you're just going through it?
I still had no clue, and my grades weren't great, and I knew I should be doing better because school had never really been a challenge. So my parents always worked really, really hard, and we still always struggled. And I always knew, I don't want to have to work that hard in life just to get by. So I always knew I wanted, but I didn't really know how to get there. So I was working at Macy or Wine Stocks, and one of the ladies that worked in the cosmetics department turned 40, and she had worked there since she was 17. And I thought, oh my God, if I don't do something, that one day I'm going to wake up and be like, I'm 40 and I still work in the cosmetics department.
Wow.
So I decided to go into the Air Force because I needed some direction.
Oh, wow. And so you're 19?
I was 19 when I decided, and then I was 20 after I enlisted and actually left for basic training.
I didn't know you were in the Air Force. So
yeah, it's that's a big jump. And military guy, so he's excited over here. People can't see his face, but whenever someone says that, I'm like, okay, go ahead with your military.
Well,
question.
it's unless you're in the military, I don't think people know. So coming in at 20 to us now, 20 is young to everybody, even Natasha, but you're 2 years older than most people coming in.
Yeah.
So you were kind of the senior, the older, I would imagine, a little bit older than everybody. So what was that transition like for you, going from essentially not having a path and a dream and guidance and structure, like, right? You're enjoying life, and then you're in boot camp.
Yeah. It was a big transition, and I was like, what the heck did I do? But I had more the bigger picture, like the help of college, and I figured it would give me 4 years to kind of try to figure out what I wanted to do. So in boot camp for the Air Force was 6 weeks. So it was, there's a, it's not forever. You can.
Yeah, easy now, but I remember day 1, day 2, day 3, like 6 weeks is a long time.
Long time,
And so what was your military occupational specialty?
So I was a weather observer. When I was in high school, I had done ROP, and I did the dental assisting program through ROP. So that was one of the top choices. When you go in, they give you a list of jobs. And I was like, oh, I don't think I want to do that again. So I ended up getting assigned to be a weather observer. And it was interesting because I had looked at, obviously the Army and the Air Force and the Navy, and decided on the Air Force.
You left out Marines.
Yeah, no, that was not on the radar. That was a no thank you from the beginning.
Okay.
I knew that wasn't my thing. But I ended up being stationed with the Army the whole 4 years that I was on active duty.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So that...
Where were you stationed? Did you have to travel?
Yeah.
You were stationed away?
I was stationed... I went to school to be a weather observer in Illinois, which the base is now closed. And so I was there for... That school was about 4 months, so I was there for about 4 or 5 months. And then I got stationed at Fort Drum in upstate New York.
Oh, interesting. So culture shock?
Total culture shock. I got there in February, and they had a record-breaking snow that year. So I had just turned 21 by that time. I'd never driven in the snow growing up here. And I got to town, and I called, and they said, just stay at the hotel in town and drive out to the base in the morning. And it was... ice snowbanks 8 feet high, and it was like a half an hour from the nearest town into the base, and it's like, okay.
Super interesting. So I met my wife in the Marine. She's a Marine as well. So,
yes.
And unless you're there, it's hard to really explain to people a female in that male-dominated world, especially, whatever it was 25, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So how was that for you as a woman, just with all of these men? It's probably, if the statistics, if I remember correctly, you were probably 10% of the population, the female, if that.
Not at Fort Drum. Fort Drum's an infantry base, so back then they did not allow women to be in the infantry at all. And up until about 4 months before I got there, they didn't even let women be in support roles at the infantry bases.
Oh, wow. So you were one of the first.
So the first woman in our weather unit got there in December, and I got there at the beginning of February.
Interesting. So how hard was it?
It was hard. I know
it was hard.
And it was also hard because, one of the reasons I didn't go into the Army was I didn't want to go to the field and do all that kind of thing. Well, we had to do we had to pass the Army PT test. We had to go to the field with the Army. I'm like, I might as well just go to the Army and be done with this in 2.5 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was very interesting. I had, we had a tactical side, and then we had the weather station that provided weather support to the pilots. And when we did our rotation through the tactical side, we went to the field. We had all of our tactical gear, and I had the training officer tell me flat out, our first trip, he's like, this is the first trip we're taking women to the field. You're going to have to work twice as hard and complain half as much, or your life's going to be miserable here.
Yeah. I remember I watched what my wife went through, and I probably wasn't the greatest individual until we started dating. But it's incredibly difficult for women. Mm-hmm. I haven't been in the military for a while. I know it's still difficult, but back then, incredibly. And then just being the first, what were some of the things that you experienced that you're like, oh my goodness, just shocked you?
Just like when we went to the field for the first time, we were getting all of our tactical stuff together, and all these playboys fell out of. I had some Army guys at the gas station ask me when they started letting women be there that women shouldn't be here, and just getting hit on by supervisors
Yeah.
and completely inappropriate.
Were you regretting it? Were you like, why did I do this? Or did the good outweigh the bad?
I don't think I ever regretted it. It was definitely hard, and some days I was like, what the heck?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you're just like checking off your calendar probably to get through it. But yeah.
But I also, I don't know, I think I've always kind of been an overachiever. So there was a lot of good that came from it. I ended up, when that training officer left, it was an NCO position, I ended up taking his spot and
Good for you.
Having a leadership role, especially in the tactical side of things, going to the field and kind of being in charge of training the whole unit on all of our tactical gear. And
that's super awesome. So when you look back on it fondly, the 4 years?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say that when we were in it, everybody complained. That's just part of the military.
Yeah.
And the longer you're away from it, the better it was. and the better I was. It's like, yeah, that was a fantastic 4 years. I did everything great. In reality, we were always complaining, I can't wait till I get out and things like that. But it was a blast. I loved, being in. So thank you for your service. Especially, I just like, obviously being married to Maureen and see what she went through and all of that. I have a special spot because I know it's not easy. And I know young males, they're not always the brightest, and they don't always do things right. So I know it was not the easiest couple of years. So appreciate it very, very much. So what made you decide that you were going to get out and not re-enlist?
It was, after Fort Drum, I went to Korea for a year. I was also, I was also at an Army base in Korea. So when it was just a lot of little things, like being stationed at the Army. Like I got passed over for promotion because we were up against the Air Force people that were at the Air Force base, and all of the people on the promotion board were at the Air Force base. Just the inappropriate behavior from the higher ups. I was like, this is just not the environment I want to be in. And I didn't love weather. And the next step, I would have had to go to school to be a forecaster. And I had not really had any interest in that. And the options to do something else, I was like, I'm just going to get out and come back home.
So now you're 24, you're exiting the Air Force, and now you have experience in a foundation. So at this point, are you like, I have a dream, or are you still like, I don't know what I'm going to do?
So I decided I was going to go into the dental field. So when I was on active duty, I took college classes. So I ended up getting my associate's degree while I was in Korea. I applied to the University of Syracuse because I was married at the time, and my now ex-husband worked in Syracuse for the Air National Guard. So that was the original plan when I went to Korea, was I was going to go to the University of Syracuse for their dental hygiene program. And he was not a very nice guy, so I decided when I was in Korea, getting divorced and coming back home to California.
Happens quite a bit, especially once you get the deployment. It's like, oh, I see things a little bit different.
Yes, good to get away from you. So I came back out here, and then I pursued my dental hygiene career here. So I was a hygienist for 21 years before I left that career.
Okay, so why did you want to do, like, what was the passion about?
When I did the ROP program in high school, I did the dental assisting program, and I liked working in dental. I like working with people, so I liked that aspect of it. But I was always more interested in the hygiene side of it, because it's a little bit more independent. You work, as an assistant, you work with the doctor. As a hygienist, you're more independent and kind of do your own thing. So I was more interested in that. So again, I still wasn't really like 100% gung-ho. I was like, I liked working in the dental office. I liked hygiene better than assisting. So I'm just going to go ahead and go that route. So
I'm always fascinated with people like you. I mean it from a good place, because I couldn't do what you do. Like, I don't want to be in someone's mouth.
Yeah.
Does it just not, does it just bother you? You were just like, okay, here we go. Open up.
It didn't bother me. And I think it was more about building connections with people. And I have severe dental anxiety. I think that's probably, I had a lot of I fell when I was like 9. And so it's been a series of dental issue after dental issue. And I think part of that too was like, I wanted to make, probably subconsciously, like I wanted people to make people comfortable in that setting because it was so uncomfortable for me. And some of the hygienists, I worked at one office for 10 years, and the hygienists were like, you always get the high maintenance people. The people, they're like, I couldn't work with that person. And they're like, why do you think that is? And I said, I think people get what they need. And I have the patience because I understand what they're going through, that, you know, they just end up with me because that's what they need. And so.
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I have that anxiety. I do not like going to the dentist. So if I do not have someone and I have a really good dentist now, but if I don't, like, no, if I'm going to be in pain and uncomfortable, I want to at least enjoy the people I'm around.
Yes.
So in your career, dentistry and the Air Force, did you have, I'm always fascinated with leaders and like mentors and people who help you along that journey of like deciding what you want to do or, you know, play a role. So did you have, I know in the military, it's very, you know, there's lots of chain of command and all of that stuff. But even when you get into just the work, you know, environment, were there any leaders or people that you would consider mentors or that were helping you kind of guide you, or were you really just kind of figuring it out yourself?
Just kind of figuring it out.
Yeah.
Dental's kind of especially back then, the hygiene field was very impacted, so it was very competitive. So it wasn't a lot of guidance and it's like, here's your degree, good luck finding a job.
Yeah. And then get there, go do it, just do your best, like in yourself. Got it.
And when you look back, do you wish you would have had somebody, or did it make a difference? Or do you think it would have made a difference?
It probably would have made a difference, but I've always been very independent and just figure things out on my own.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe there were people that were more willing to be kind of those mentors, but I was figuring things out on my own. So.
And so while you're doing that 21 years, so you were married while you were in the Air Force and went through a divorce. Did you get remarried in those 21 years? Children? What did that life look like?
Let's see, I got married in 2003, and then I had my daughter in 2008. And it was good. I never worked more than 3 days a week after she was born, so it was nice to have that flexibility that, you know, I could volunteer in her classroom and, you know, be there for all of her events and things like that. So it was good. And then we ended up getting divorced 2019. He was like, I think I want to be single. So it was kind of blindsided me. And I had, I don't remember when it was, but 9 years ago, I started having issues with my neck and my back from working in dental. So I was like, I need to do something else. And I actually really wanted to get my esthetician license back then. And he was not supportive and said, you know, you're still working on people's faces. You're going to have the same issues. I don't think it's a good career path. So I got my real estate license because we had bought and sold a lot of real estate, and I like the real estate market, and our agent used to tease me. She's like, you know more about the market than I do.
Yeah, why not get licensed to go sell?
So I figured it was that would be a part-time that I could be flexible to still be there for my daughter. And so I got my real estate license, and then eventually cut down to just 1 day a week working in the dental office and doing hygiene 1 day a week, and then doing real estate kind of part-time.
And did you enjoy that? Or you haven't?
I did. I used to really enjoy it. The real estate market's changed a lot.
I would imagine when I think about the real estate, I imagine it's high highs and low lows. Like when you sell a house, there's those highs, but then you go periods of time where it's like, am I ever going to get paid? Unless you have a constant pipeline. Yeah. But is that fair?
That's especially for, like, I was only doing it part time, so that's definitely fair. And it's super stressful because you have somebody's making the biggest financial decision of their life, and they're counting on you to guide them and advise them. And I feel like people are a lot more unreasonable now, and it's definitely just changed.
How long did you do it? The real estate part?
I still have my license, so I'm kind of phasing out. But I've had my license for 9 years now, I think.
And so how long did you do real estate and stay in the dental field?
5 years.
Okay. So we were doing both.
Yeah, I was doing both.
And while you were doing that, you'd gone through the divorce?
No, I was doing that. That was what I was doing when we got divorced.
Oh, got it.
So.
And then you decided, I'm going to chase my dream.
Yes.
Or what you wanted to do.
Yes. When we got divorced, because it was kind of, not a huge surprise, obviously, because, but kind of didn't really see it coming. I thought, like, oh, things aren't great, but we'll work them out. And he was like, no, I just want to be done. So I was 48, worked part-time, and was like, now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do what I want to do. So I decided to go back to school. So.
Wow. So 48, go back to school. And doing real estate. Mm-hmm. And was that a lot? Were you overwhelmed?
Insane, because I still was working at the dental office 1 day a week, and I was going to school 5 days a week, and real estate was super busy. So I was basically working 7 days a week, and had my daughter half time, and we had just moved. Her and I moved out, so trying to get settled in a new house, and I started school the day after we moved into our house.
Wow.
So it was
really
very chaotic, but I was like, I got to make this work, and I don't want to be doing real estate forever, and I don't want to go back to working in the dental office full time. So I've got to get through school and make this work so I can have the life that I want.
So would you say, and just in the conversation, was that the first time maybe in your life you had a very clear vision on what you wanted your future to be?
Yes.
Professionally?
Yeah.
Fascinating the way that everything just happens, and then you're like, okay, this is what I want to do. And so how long was school for you?
It was a little delayed because of COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So, it was pretty short. I started the very end of December, and we finished up in June with a little bit of a break for the transition from in-person to online. So.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. For the school, so for to be an esthetician, right? What for listeners who might not be as known into that, what are you doing? What are you learning? What is that? What are you going to school for? What's included in being an esthetician?
Like the laws of California, what you can do and what you can't do. Hands-on. So the school has a mini spa where we would actually see clients and get evaluated. The science of our skin is our largest organ of our body, so it's the science, biology, anatomy, physiology, which I had all of those, which that part was easy because I had that from my dental hygiene degree. I'm like, oh, I've already done these, so that was easy. And then hands-on, a very, very little bit of business. I feel like the school is definitely, especially there's a lot of younger people right out of high school, have no clue about business, and they go through these schools and they have no idea if they want to start out on their own, how to run their own business. So,
that's a good point. They're learning the like role, the action, the things that you do.
Skill.
Yes, but not how to actually be on your own or
run a business.
Yeah.
Okay, so for all of our guy listeners, what does an esthetician do? for me, like
so facials. So it's basically like cleansing your skin, facial massage, recommending products that would be best for your skin type. A lot of people have skin concerns like sun damage, fine lines and wrinkles as we get older, acne. So we work with using different products and different technology, like machines, to treat whatever your concerns are to get your skin healthy.
And so is it part cosmetic and part medical,
I think it's different things for different people. Some people just come in and say, I just want to relax, because there is, we do a hand and arm massage, and it's relaxing. A lot of times that's the only time people take time for themselves and just come in and decompress. For some people, they have serious concerns, like, I have a lot of sun damage, or I have acne scars, and that's more where we want to be more focused, like, this is your home care routine. This is how often you get facials. This is, the peels that we're doing, or the dermabrasion, or whatever, to get them to where they want to be. Because if people have skin concerns, especially things like acne or scarring or a lot of sun damage, or your skin is discolored, people are really self-conscious about it.
Yeah.
And it can affect their self-esteem. So
So I want to come back to this part of it, but I want to go back to school. So when you're going through school, are you looking at, I'm going to go open my own business, or I'm going to go work for somebody? Was there a path? And now you're in COVID, so you had to have been thinking like, oh my gosh, how am I going to make money?
Yeah, going to work for somebody else was never an option, because my ex-husband and I had also owned restaurants. So we had our own business, we set our own schedule. I only worked 1 day a week in the dental office. So I had a lot of freedom, and I just thought there's no way I can go work for somebody else and have them dictate my schedule. And also a lot of spas, they have time frames, and it's, these are the services you can offer, and you need to sell this much to people. And that's definitely not how I run my business. And I didn't want to be in that situation where it's like, these are the only things you can do, these are the only things you can sell, and these are the hours you're going to work. So I knew from day one I was going to go out on my own.
True entrepreneurial spirit. You don't want to work for anybody.
No.
And so as you're going through COVID, how were you processing that? Were you thinking, because I remember back, and I worked for a corporation at the time, but I couldn't imagine being in school, getting ready to start over, everything that you were going through, and there's no timeline to say this is when we're coming out of it, and we're in one of the most restrictive states. So what was going through your mind? How were you planning that?
It was, by the time that I finished school, and then the board was also delayed on licensing. So even though I was done, I still had to take my licensing exam. So that was another few months. So things were starting to open back up. So it was kind of like, okay, I'm just going to hope things are open when I'm ready. And when I started out, a friend of mine and I, we rented a space together. So we both started out part-time while we built our businesses. So it wasn't a huge expense. So it was like, okay, I can, if I have a couple of clients, I'll be able to at least cover the rent. And, but it was scary because it was, the back and forth, and we had just got all of our rooms set up. We were ready to open, and there was talk that they were going to shut down the hair salons and that kind of thing again. And her and I were like, what are we going to do? We have, we bought all this equipment. We're ready to go. And fortunately that was short-lived, and we were able to open. But it was scary. And it was that whole, there was so much contradictory information, like what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing. And there wasn't a lot of clear guidance. So it was, and I just kind of thought, the people that are going to come in are going to be people that obviously are okay.
Being around.
They, or like, I want to have facial and wear a mask, then, you're probably not the person for me.
It's really not going to work.
Not going to work.
As far as your own business, so I think one of the toughest parts about having your business is building up your clientele. So was that walk us through that. Was that something, once you did get going, how did you find clients? Did you already have a good, customer base? What was that of like the part of actually building
I feel like that still is a struggle. I'm still building. I get a lot of referrals and word of mouth. I joined BNI, which is a networking group. I go to some networking events. I do things like I sponsor the schools. I always donate gift certificates for the community. I feel like that's important to give back to your community and be involved. So I donate things. I've had several people that say, oh, I saw you online. You've been recommended in Facebook groups, and, I've seen your name around at the community things. So I'm always looking for new ways to market myself. And the way I want to build my business is I want the people that are a good fit. I don't want just everybody. Yeah. I'd rather have a smaller base of the clients that I can connect with than, there's a lot of people when they start out, they do like Groupon or, a lot of discounts just to get people in the door. And that's just not my philosophy.
And take what you get. I think that's a big one that I've been learning too. It's different when you work for somebody else too. It's like, well, you don't get to say no, to people. Now it's like, oh, hold on a second. Like, are you right for me, or am I right for you? So I think that's a tough part. So you're building your business. And you've had some experience in the past. Are you learning new things that you didn't expect, or was it really just it's part of the grind? Like, what the actual building of the business? Is there anything there?
It's different doing it all on your own, and I feel like every day it's something. I need to make phone calls or emails, and I just moved my space. So it's been on my list, but there's been a lot of other personal things going on, but I'm in a big complex. So I want to go to introduce myself to the businesses in the complex. And I know some of them, like the gyms, they have where you can put your business cards there. So that has been on my list, and just, it's always something. I need to get the things printed to take to go around to the businesses. And oh shoot, I ran out of business cards. I got to order those. And it's just when you're doing it, it's all me. The bookkeeping, the marketing, when the clients call at 8:00 at night and want to schedule an appointment, it's like, okay, do I take that call or do I just wait till tomorrow? And it's like, it's nonstop.
You're wearing every hat.
Yes.
So what do you like? What hat do you like least?
Marketing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's tough. That's hard. I think.
I don't love social media personally, and everyone's like, you have to do it for your business, and I really struggle with that. And just marketing in general, I feel like there's so many different things you can do, and it's like, where do you invest your time and your money that's actually going to be worth it?
Yeah, and every business is different. Like what works for, a plumber may not work for health insurance, as an example. So, and it's we are part of networking groups, and I'll talk to people, and I'm like, yeah, that's a fantastic idea, and I've gone to try it. And Natasha and I talk about it. I was like, we're gonna fail fast. I was like, we'll try it quick, and if we see something, then maybe we go down that. But it's not one size fits all. So it's really, really tough to figure out what works, and everybody has an opinion.
Yes.
And you should try this.
Yes.
You should try this.
And you should pay me hundreds of dollars to do this for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was one of the biggest things. Because when we started about 6 months ago, when we went out on our own, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting blown up by people. And I was taking calls just to take calls. And they weren't customer calls for us. These people wanted to partner. And I realized everybody had their hand out, and they wanted money from us. And I was like, oh, and then I stopped taking calls. But yeah, it was a learning curve of who's there to help and who's there to, take money from you.
Yes. And I feel like that takes up so much part of the day, is those calls and emails from all of those people. And it's like, I don't have, that's the least important thing is, I don't need your pest control services. Thank you. Like, please quit calling me.
Yeah. It's always a prioritization on how you can grow the business each day.
Yeah.
So what keeps you up at night as a business owner?
First and foremost, paying the bills is, and that's, just growing the business. And it's funny because sometimes I worry about it, and then I think, everything always works out, and I've never been homeless. So I guess, that would be the worst case. So, that's really the biggest thing. I feel like my business is it's small. It's just me. I rent my own little room, and that's really all I'm responsible for. So it's just keeping the business going and growing it. And like I said, I want to grow it through connections with people that I enjoy seeing, and they enjoy seeing me. So if it's a little slower than some people think, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. I'm always I don't know what the right wording is here, but when working with younger people, in their early 20s, and they say, yeah, I'm gonna grow a business, or look at so-and-so and look at so-and-so and look at this business owner. And they're saying, yeah, that's where I want to be on success. And however they measure it, whether it's cars, the houses, whatever it is, they don't see these conversations, and they don't see these times. As you're going through this business, did you know it would be this hard? Did you expect it to be as hard as it is? And then do you appreciate the journey?
I definitely appreciate the journey, and I didn't think it would be as hard as it is. I guess I love getting facials. I thought more people would be like, oh, yeah, me too. I'm going to come and see you. So the building the business has definitely been harder than I thought it was going to be. But I definitely have loved the journey, and, we meet people along the way, and it's all just part of the journey, and it's been great. I love it. I've, try to always think about things that I'm grateful for, and I'm so grateful that I am right here where I'm at.
Yeah,
and to have the control as well of you answer to yourself, and that might be hard, but you do that. So I think most people, well, I don't know, most people don't start a business. They're either afraid, or they think it's too much, or they try and they want to give up. So from that aspect, even on hard days, like, why do you keep going? Like, what is it that
I get to have the life that I want? That, sometimes I think, if I just had a regular job, I'd have a steady income. I just work 8 to 5. People wouldn't be calling me in the evenings or wanting me to work on the weekends. But then I always go back to, but spring break, I got to take my daughter to visit colleges and go to Disneyland, and I didn't have to worry about, do I have time off of work? Is that going to be a problem? Stuff comes up with my family, and I can be there. And to me, those things are much more important than having that stability and the 9 to 5 job that I get to live my life on my terms.
Yeah, there's definitely a freedom there. And when you think about passing on advice to those that want to start a business or are thinking about it, what advice do you have for people?
I would say definitely do it, but also be clear on what you want and not what everybody else says you want or you should want. It's like some people start a business and they think they need the house and the cars, and they have to have this, multi-million-dollar business so they can have all those things. But like for me, that's not what I want. So I want my little business that supports me, and, and I'm happy with that. So I think a lot of people get, especially starting a business, they have mentors, and, the mentors are telling them, you should be doing this, you should want this, but really just focus on what you want and what's important to you, and grow your business to fit that, not what everybody else thinks you should be doing.
Yeah. So I have a question in that, people that start business, and there's all kinds of different business owners, right? So I've seen where business owners will use you as an example. Instead of opening a small place, you could have went and opened up, 2,000 square foot, facility. And some people let their ego drive, I should be doing that, I should be doing that, and let it going slow and saying, no, I'm going to pass up on this part, or like opening up a bigger space, or, having a fancy sign outside, things like that. So how do you look at that when you're having to make those decisions? It sounds like you're very grounded and know what you want, but how are you going about that process?
That's interesting you bring that up, because I actually was thinking I would really like to have my own space and have not a huge space, but 4 to 5 treatment rooms, maybe like a yoga meditation space. And I actually started looking at commercial spaces, and the thought of all of the time and money that would go into opening that, and then the overhead and renting the rooms. I thought, I think I'm good with my, once you do, it's funny, I have a group of estheticians that we talk and once a month, and one of the girls was saying the same thing. She's like, it's interesting when we think we want these big grand things, and then when the opportunity comes up and we really contemplate what all it's going to take to do that, maybe it's not really what we want.
Yeah. It's interesting because I have seen business owners make that decision. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, well, this is the next step. I was like, but you're that's 5 steps away.
Yeah. This
is an ego decision where you think you need to be here, and it's gonna end up bringing you down versus actually growing your business. Because to your point, then you're spending all of that time and overhead managing that instead of doing what you love and bringing in customers. So it's always interesting. Natasha and I talked about that. I was like, hey, we should get an office. And she's like, why do you want an office?
Why do we want that? Not that you can't build up to it, but I think people come in and it can make you fail either quicker or up front because you don't. And you even like when watching Shark Tank and stuff like that, it's like if your startup costs are like through the roof, and then you don't have the clientele, like you're in a bad spot. So start with what you want, build up, but it's different for everybody. I think we're all kind of learning as we go, but I think your advice is there's so many people trying to give you advice, and whether they're selling their own or something like that, it really is, hey, you should be 10xing and you should be looking at this. And it's like, well, maybe not actually. And I don't think people tell themselves that or ask them the question, like, is that really what I want? So it's a great piece of advice, I think, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. All the things I'm thinking of, I'm like, you know what? I can choose, actually. So maybe I don't want that.
Yes.
Comparison, I think, is also a big one. Is like, oh, if you're comparing yourself to this big, spa place that's been around for 40 years, it's like, that's like, you got to put yourself where you're at. Otherwise you're going to, I think, get outside of your scope for sure.
Yeah. I think it's easy to do because, like you said, people's ego.
Yeah.
I think they've got to do all these great things right off the get-go, and it takes time.
Absolutely. And it's easy to want to satisfy that and say, look, I did it.
Yes.
To all of the people who are watching. Like,
Yeah.
I need to validate. You really don't. Like,
No.
validation is, there's all kinds of
To
different
the people
validation.
doing none of the work. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I was trying to impress you. You didn't have to you didn't have to answer the 9 p.m. calls and like, what am I doing here? Is actually, I have to ask myself sometimes, like, what is going on?
So let's talk about your services. So what do you want people to know about what you do and how they can come see you?
They can come see me at the Phoenix Salon Suites in Rockland. They can book online at my website. They can call me. They can text me. I will answer their calls or get back to them. I offer facials and all of the, not all, but a lot of the things that go along with that, like dermabrasion and dermaplaning, chemical peels, and microcurrent. And if you're not a facial person, you kind of are looking at me with that blank stare.
The guy in the room.
Yeah, I'll take a note. I'm like,
I don't know what any of those
okay.
things are. So I just pretty much, if you have a skincare concern, I would love to help people out with that. Or even if they just have questions, because so many people don't know, you go to Target or now the influencers. My daughter has 1,000 more skincare products than I have. Mm-hmm. There's just so much out there. I like helping people and guiding them, like what they actually need, and not just follow the marketing of, this YouTuber says that you need it.
Yeah.
All of my services are customized, so I really just try to work with people with where they're at and what they want and what they need. And some people come in every month and they do all of the things and the chemical peels and all of the products, and other people just say, I love coming to see you. It's not in my budget, so I come every 2 or 3 months or before a special occasion, and that's great too.
Well, I was going to ask, as far as if people don't really know what they want, is that something, like I called just like, I want to get a facial, mm-hmm. but I'm assuming, is there like consultation that happens of what might be best for them, or if they have questions, that's something you can help guide somebody that might not know?
Usually I don't do like a separate consultation. I just mm-hmm. do it as part of your appointment. So mm-hmm. if people have questions like that and they call me, we can kind of talk about what their concerns are, mm-hmm. and I can recommend which facial I would be best for them. And then when they come in, I do have a client intake form that's pretty extensive. And if they can schedule online, but if they call me and say, I don't really know, and these are my concerns, mm-hmm. and I do always schedule more time for my new clients so that we do have time to have those conversations. And sometimes people will schedule for things and I'll just tell them, that's really not the best for your skin right now. Like, we should do this instead. And most people are open to that. So
that's good. Yeah.
If you don't know, it's definitely, we can have a conversation.
You got them covered.
Yeah.
And do you have an ideal client?
My ideal clients, I kind of have both ends of the spectrum. I love working with my older, 40s, 50s, even older clients that have concern. That's, my age frame. Like we're
the new young. Just
yes. So, we all have those concerns with aging, and I feel like I can get great results for those clients. And then I also have a lot of acne clients, and I love working with them because they're usually teenagers, and I just love to see their transformation from being self-conscious and having issues with their skin to just like, I feel so much better and my skin feels so much better, and they're just so happy and excited every time I see them. So
I bet that's incredibly rewarding.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So how can the business owners and the people listening to you, how can we help you get more clients? What's referrals, obviously.
Honestly, I would prefer that people came and saw me and actually had a facial, so they know what they're actually referring to. Because if you refer me, that's great. You can say, I'm a great person and me and whatever, but you haven't actually experienced my services. So I think that's the best way it's great to get to know people one-to-one, but my services are such a hands-on.
Yeah.
It's not like, I mean, yes, you can tell people I'm knowledgeable and that's great, but I think honestly, just coming to see me and being in BNI, it was almost all men when I started. And a lot of the men were like, I have no idea what you do. Then when they started coming in, they were like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. Like they had no idea. So I think and so then it made it a lot easier for them to send
I'm
referrals.
50. I've never had a facial.
Yeah, you gotta come.
Yeah, now you're locked in. But it's a great point. We talk so much about referrals and all these network and things like that, and it's like, well, experience it. Test out the service or skill or whatever it is, and then your referrals can be more authentic. And, so it's a good point.
It's a little bit different than like, insurance services. Like,
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you guys know your stuff. You're great people. That's, I feel like easier to refer than
you touching someone's face.
Yeah.
Well, we have a couple staple questions that we'd love to ask. So I'll go first. So and the reason I ask this question is because for our younger listeners, you start out and the question, I'll tell you the question and then I'll tell you why I ask it. So what's your definition of success? And it evolves over time. When I was 20, what my definition of success is way different than what it is now. And I always like to ask that because we get such different answers from everybody, and it just feels good to hear it. So, and to share it with others, like it's not, no one ever says it's the house and the cars.
Yeah.
Unless they're like in their early 20s.
Yeah.
Then you're like, oh yeah, I want this car. I was like, okay, well that's not success to me anymore. But so what is your definition of success?
I think my definition of success is when you have a life that you love, that your work or your career supports the rest of your life, as far as financially you can afford the life that you want, whatever that is, if it's travel or spending time with your kids or doing all those things. And I think if you live a life that you love, you're successful.
Yeah, I love it. I agree.
It's such a good response. So my staple question is going to take you back a little bit. I like to ask, we think about the journey, you grow, you learn, you change along the way. So if you could have one conversation with your 30-year-old self, what would be one piece of advice you would say, whether it's personal or professional? What's something that you would tell your 30-year-old self?
I would say do the work to work on yourself sooner rather than later.
That's really good. People don't really, they either don't realize it or they don't want to. So that's a good piece of advice.
Thank you.
That's a great piece of advice. So the hours always go by really, really quick. So anything that you want to share, anything you want to leave with the people that are listening?
I would just say follow your dreams, even if you don't know what they are. I feel like my journey was kind of a random hodgepodge to get me where I am. But don't get stuck in that pigeonhole of you have to do this or following somebody else's dream. Just take the time to figure it out. And even if it means trying several things along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love your story. Thank you so much for coming and sharing. This is why we do it, because it's always great to get to know somebody and hear their story, and it's so super interesting. So, and you have had quite a path everywhere.
To get to pull the curtain back too, and just talk about the things that we interview so many people to say what is business ownership really like, and what's the journey really like. So thank you for being so open as well to sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. It was fun.